Canada was buzzing. The ice was tilted. A dramatic comeback victory felt inevitable. A team previously unable to click offensively appeared to have finally unlocked some cohesion. Then the group's other issue, penalties, bubbled to the surface one final time at the World Junior Hockey Championship. And Hockey Canada is now left to pick up the pieces following another disastrous result. A disappointing night for Canada.
Sikora back to Juricek, a shot that was blocked. Juricek feeds it back across. Yeko scores! Adam Yeko, power play goal.
Adam Yeko scored the winner on a power play with 39 seconds left in regulation as the tournament hosts fell 4-3 to Czechia in the quarterfinals yesterday.
Sucks. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's obviously not the way we all wanted it to end. I don't know, like, we had a good group, everyone bought in, and we all played for each other and played for the country, and just didn't work out the way we wanted it to, obviously.
There's no easy game here. Every team's good, so you got to make sure you're at your top of your game every single night. I hate to say it, but there's always next year, so I wish we could have got it done this year, but I don't know. Gotta look at the positives, I guess.
In comes Jagger, short-handed breakaway. Jagger in, stop. Bravo made the save there. Back in front, they score. Tanner Howe, short-handed goal, and the game is tied.
Tanner Howe, Porter Martone, and Bradley Nadeau scored for Canada. Carter George stopped 22 shots. Braden Yeager had 2 assists for the Canadians, who never really found their stride until the third period. But it still wasn't enough to carry them to victory.
Just didn't win the games that we had to. There's not much all you can go on the stats and speculate and whatever you want to do, but we just didn't win the games that we had to.
And brought back in by Sikora. Sikora moves in, a backdoor pass, they score! Tipped home by Peter Sikora, and the Czechs have grabbed the lead.
For the Czechs, Peter Sikora, Jacob Stansel, and Edward Scholle had the other goals.
It's something special. Like play against Canada in Canada in Ottawa, so something special for us. It was a tough game. Canada was a great team. The first period, I will say it was better, but the second period they play on the puck. It was tough to defend, but yeah, our goalie played pretty good tonight, and yeah, that was the key. And the last penalty, maybe that was the key of the game.
Canada was also upset by the Czechs in the dying moments at the same stage 12 months ago at the Under-20 event in Sweden. The country has now failed to play for a medal at back-to-back World Juniors for the first time since instituting its program of excellence in the early 1980s. Today, the Hockey Canada executive saying the buck stops with him, adding that he's incredibly disappointed and apologetic.
Someone asks, who do you blame? You can blame me. If you think it's scouting, I hire the scout. If you think it's coaching, I hire the coach. So you want to blame someone, you can blame me.
The Czechs will face the U.S. in Saturday's semifinals. Sweden is set to meet Finland for the other berth in Sunday's title game. Joining us now to talk more about this devastating loss for fans is Dayton Reimer from the Hockey Writers. Thanks for joining us, Dayton.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There's lots of talk about the Canadian team and their coach. What do you think led them to this loss?
I think it all comes down to their head coach, Dave Cameron. He did not adapt anything, it seems. And it all kind of hinged, for me at least, on that Latvia game. We saw a team who couldn't get out of their own way. They had very few systems in place. They kept making shots from the perimeter that Latvia was able to kind of just bat away. They were always seemed to be in a Latvian player. And then, yeah, they gave up some really key penalties. And then there was that too many men call in overtime. It was just very, very undisciplined. And to me, that comes back to the coach. That's somebody who wasn't getting the most out of his players. He didn't have any systems in place, which is why we saw so many pucks being shot from the perimeter. And then after the Latvia game, there was no practice because they were tired. And then after the American game, there was no practice because they were tired. And ahead of the Czechia game, there was no practice because they were tired. That's a coach who gave up on his players. They didn't get a chance to develop any of these systems because they didn't have any time to practice. There was no ability to generate some of these, this chemistry that you need to create a strong penalty kill, to create a strong offensive game, because they didn't get the chance to. The coach didn't give them anything. And so when the coach was asked after the tournament if he had any regrets, he said, no. Really? That's the wrong thing to say. That's a coach who didn't care. And his players were left to fend on themselves, and they made mistakes because they didn't have anybody in their corner helping them get through that.
This isn't the first time Canada lost to Czechia 12 months ago. What do you think needs to change to prevent this from happening again in the future?
I think they need a coach similar to Brent Sutter back many, many years ago when Canada was dominant. He's somebody who somehow always got the best out of his players, really focused on that discipline, really focused on getting those systems in place. You need a strong, strong head coach for these short tournaments like the World Juniors. It's somebody who can really bring everybody together, get the hardest workers out there, and let them play their games then. And Cameron didn't do that. He didn't get his hardest working, his best players playing their best games. There has been some criticism about the selection, and I was, one of those people who was critical of some of the players who were picked. But some of the ones I was critical of, Tanner Howe, Luca Pinelli, Matthew Cataford, those were all some of the Canada's best players because they knew how to work hard and they knew how to get in close and get the pucks on the net. The other guys who I guess Cameron relied on weren't getting the support they needed from Cameron, and so they struggled.
Can we expect a coaching change?
Yes, I don't think Cameron will be back with Canada anytime soon, if ever. I think he's kind of been released from Hockey Canada, if that makes sense. He won't be back next year. He won't be back after that. I know this is the second chance kind of coming in, and I think he did better with his first run, but he won't be back.
What do you expect for the rest of the tournament now?
I would like to see what Sweden can do. I've watched a few of their games, and when I was watching Canada play Latvia, I kept thinking back to the Swedish game against Latvia, how they adapted their game to change up their style against a team that was relying more on putting a person in front of a puck mover. They relied heavily on their passing game. Sweden has a really strong passing game, and they were able to exploit Latvia's defense, which was sort of a tight man-to-man physical defense, find the mistakes, get the win pretty easily. They were really adaptable. They looked really smart. They looked really calm. I think they could end up in the gold medal game this year, and I'd be excited to see what they can do there.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you for joining us, Dayton.
Yeah, thank you again.